Captain adjusted his environmental suit as the transport ship descended through Earth's atmosphere. The readings on his scanner made his secondary heart skip beats. Gravity at 9.8 meters per second squared, atmospheric pressure that would crush most civilized beings, and an oxygen concentration so high it was practically explosive. Yet somehow, impossibly, this nightmare world supported life. "Preliminary scans complete, Captain," reported his science officer, a tall with silver skin that gleamed under the ship's lights. "The surface temperature varies wildly across the planet. Some regions reach temperatures that would melt our hull plating, while others are cold enough to freeze nitrogen solid." Nodded grimly. The Galactic Council had classified Earth as a Class 12 death world 3 cycles ago, after their first contact with humanity. The classification was supposed to be a warning to other species. Stay away from this hellish planet and its inhabitants. But recent intelligence suggested that Earth's classification needed to be updated. The humans were spreading across their solar system, and their expansion rate was accelerating beyond all predictions. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the surface," the communications officer announced. Her tentacles danced across the console with practiced efficiency. "It appears to be coming from something called the International Space Station." The flickered to life, revealing a human face. The creature looked remarkably similar to the basic structure, but there was something unsettling about its eyes. They held an intelligence that seemed both curious and calculating, like a predator evaluating prey. "Welcome to Earth," the human said in perfect galactic standard. "I'm Commander Sarah of the International Space Station. We've been tracking your approach for the past 6 hours. Permission to dock." His mandibles clicked in surprise. 6 hours. Their ship was equipped with the most advanced stealth technology in the galaxy. How had these primitives detected them so early? "Commander," he replied carefully, "we are representatives of the Galactic Council. We've come to conduct a routine assessment of your world's development." The human's mouth curved upward in what their files indicated was a gesture of friendliness, though found it rather predatory. "Of course, Captain, we'd be honored to host you. Fair warning, though, our station is built to human specifications. You might find the environment a bit intense." As their ship approached the space station, marveled at its construction. The structure was massive, far larger than anything a species at humanity's technological level should have been able to build. More disturbing were the energy readings his sensors detected. The station was heavily armed, though the humans had made some effort to disguise their weapons as scientific equipment. The docking process revealed the first hint of what made humans truly terrifying. The airlock cycled, and his team found themselves in an environment that would have been lethal to most species. The artificial gravity was set to Earth normal, which felt like he was carrying twice his body weight. The atmospheric pressure made his ears pop painfully, and the oxygen concentration forced him to adjust his breathing apparatus to prevent hyperventilation. Yet the humans moved through this hostile environment as if it were perfectly normal. They didn't wear environmental suits or breathing apparatus. They simply existed in conditions that would kill most galactic citizens within minutes. Commander met them at the airlock and was struck by her casual demeanor. She moved with the fluid grace of a natural predator, but her expression remained friendly and open. Behind her stood several other humans, all displaying the same unsettling combination of warmth and barely contained violence. "Welcome aboard the ISS," she said, gesturing for them to follow. "I hope you don't mind, but we've prepared a presentation about Earth and humanity. We thought it might be helpful for your assessment." The conference room they were led to was Spartan by galactic standards, but noticed several details that made him uncomfortable. The walls were covered with images of Earth, showing various environments and human activities. What struck him most was the diversity of conditions humans seemed to thrive in. There were pictures of humans in Arctic conditions that would freeze most species solid, desert environments hot enough to cook flesh, and deep underwater scenes that should have crushed any life form. "Let me start with some basic facts about Earth," Commander began, activating a holographic display. "Our planet is approximately 4.5 billion years old. During that time, it's experienced 5 major extinction events that wiped out most life forms. The most recent occurred 66 million years ago when an asteroid impact eliminated roughly 75% of all species." Science officer leaned forward, his silver skin paling slightly. "Asteroid impact? How large?" "About 10 kilometers in diameter," replied casually. It hit with the force of several billion nuclear weapons. The resulting climate change lasted for thousands of years. Most large life forms died out, but smaller creatures survived and eventually evolved into new species. It's actually how mammals became the dominant life form on our planet. The casual way she discussed planetary catastrophe made blood chill. These humans spoke of extinction-level events as if they were minor inconveniences in their planet's history. Continued her presentation, showing images of various Earth environments. Humans have adapted to live in almost every available ecological niche on our planet. We have permanent settlements in the Arctic, where temperatures regularly drop below -40 degrees Celsius. We have communities in deserts where daytime temperatures exceed 50 degrees and water is scarce. We've built cities at altitudes where the air is too thin for most species to breathe. She paused the display on an image of humans working deep underground. We mine resources from depths of over 4 kilometers beneath the surface, in conditions of extreme heat and pressure. We also have research stations on the ocean floor, more than 11 kilometers below sea level, where the pressure would instantly crush most spacecraft. Found himself gripping his chair's armrests. The casual way these humans discussed surviving in conditions that would destroy most galactic technology was deeply unsettling. But adaptation isn't humanity's most remarkable trait, continued. What makes us unique is our approach to problem solving. When faced with a challenge, humans don't typically try to avoid it or find the easiest solution. We tend to meet challenges head-on, often in ways that other species might consider excessive. The display shifted to show images of human technology. Recognized some of it as primitive spacecraft and weapons, but other devices were unfamiliar. Noticed his confusion. These are some of our more recent innovations, she explained. For example, when we discovered that our planet's magnetic field occasionally reverses, potentially exposing us to deadly solar radiation, most species might have developed better shielding or underground habitats. Instead, we're working on technology to artificially maintain our magnetic field. She gestured to another image showing what appeared to be a massive industrial complex in space. When we realized our planet's resources were finite, we didn't focus solely on conservation. We're developing the capability to harvest resources from asteroids and other planets. Our current projections suggest we'll have mining operations throughout our solar system within the next 50 years. His communications officer whispered urgently in his ear. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. Whatever they're building down there, it's on a scale I've never seen before. His hearing was apparently better than they'd assumed. Ah, you're probably picking up our fusion reactors, she said with that unsettling smile. We recently achieved practical fusion power, clean, virtually unlimited energy. We're in the process of replacing our entire global power grid. The science officer's voice was barely controlled when he spoke. Commander, our records indicate that most species achieve fusion power only after developing faster-than-light travel and establishing contact with the galactic community. How did humanity achieve this milestone in isolation? His expression grew thoughtful. Necessity, mostly. We needed clean energy sources to support our growing population and industrial expansion. When conventional approaches proved insufficient, we pursued more ambitious solutions. The same drive that helped us survive multiple extinction events and colonize hostile environments pushed us to solve the fusion puzzle. She activated another display showing Earth's night side. The planet blazed with artificial light, far more than should have been possible for a pre-contact civilization. This image was taken last month. As you can see, human civilization has spread across most of our planet's landmasses. Our current population is approaching 8 billion individuals. Felt his secondary heart skip again. 8 billion individuals on a single planet was already beyond the capacity of most worlds. But these humans had achieved it on a death world where simply surviving should have been the primary challenge. I should mention, continued, that Earth's classification as a death world has always puzzled us. From our perspective, our planet is quite hospitable. Yes, we have some challenging weather patterns and geological activity, but these are simply part of our environment. We've learned to work with them rather than seeing them as insurmountable obstacles. She gestured to a new set of images showing massive structures that looked like cities. For instance, our coastal settlements are built to withstand what we call hurricanes' massive storm systems with winds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour. Our buildings in earthquake-prone regions are designed to flex and move with seismic activity rather than breaking. We don't see these as hardships. They're simply engineering challenges. The casual way she discussed surviving catastrophic weather made realize that humanity's relationship with their planet was fundamentally different from that of any other species he knew. Most civilizations tried to minimize their exposure to their world's hazards. Humans seemed to treat them as problems to be solved through ingenuity and determination. "Commander," said carefully, "our records indicate that humans have only recently developed space travel, yet your space station is far more advanced than what we would expect from a species at your technological level. How do you explain this?" Smile widened slightly. "Human development has always been somewhat nonlinear. When we identify a goal, we tend to pursue it with singular focus. Our space program began as a competition between two of our nations, but it quickly evolved into something much more significant. We realized that our long-term survival as a species required expansion beyond our home planet." She activated a new display showing the inner solar system. Red markers indicated human presence on several worlds and in various orbital positions. "We currently have permanent research stations on our moon, Mars, and several asteroids. We're also building a series of orbital habitats to support larger populations in space." Studied the display with growing concern. The extent of human expansion was far beyond what their intelligence reports had indicated. "How many humans are currently living off-world?" "Approximately 50,000 at last count," replied. "The number is growing rapidly as we complete new facilities. Our projections suggest we'll have over 1 million people living in space within the next decade." The communications officer looked up from her console with obvious distress. "Captain, I'm detecting launch activity from the planet's surface. Multiple spacecraft are ascending from various locations." Nodded. That would be our regular supply runs. We maintain constant traffic between Earth and our various off-world facilities. The logistics of supporting our expansion require frequent launches." She gestured to another image showing massive rocket-like vehicles. "These are our current heavy-lift spacecraft. They're designed to carry large payloads and groups of people to our off-world colonies. We've found it more efficient to build our spacecraft with significant redundancy and power reserves. Other species might consider them overly robust, but humans prefer equipment that can handle unexpected challenges." Was beginning to understand why the Galactic Council's intelligence reports had been so inadequate. Human development didn't follow the typical patterns that galactic civilization expected. Most species developed gradually, with long periods of stability between major technological advances. Humans seem to pursue multiple breakthrough technologies simultaneously, driven by an urgency that other species rarely displayed. "Commander," his science officer said, "I notice that human technology seems to emphasize durability and power over efficiency or elegance. Is this a conscious design philosophy?" His expression grew thoughtful. "I suppose it is, in a way. Human history has taught us that survival often depends on having equipment and systems that can function under extreme conditions. We've learned to build things that can withstand more stress than we expect them to encounter. It served us well on Earth, and it's proving valuable as we expand into space." The implications of this philosophy were disturbing. If humans built all their technology to withstand extreme conditions, their weapons and spacecraft were likely far more powerful and durable than their apparent technological level would suggest. "I think," continued, "that what truly distinguishes humanity is our relationship with adversity. Most species seem to view challenges as obstacles to overcome or avoid. Humans tend to see them as opportunities for growth and innovation. Our planet has thrown every possible catastrophe at us: asteroid impacts, ice ages, massive volcanic eruptions, plague, famine, and war, and each time, we've not only survived but emerged stronger and more capable." She activated a final image showing Earth from space, but this one included overlaid data about the planet's various systems. "What you see as a death world, we see as the universe's greatest training ground. Every day on Earth teaches us something new about survival, adaptation, and problem-solving. By the time humans are ready to venture into the galaxy, we've already been tested by conditions that would challenge most species." Felt a chill of recognition. This wasn't just a death world, it was a forge that had been creating the galaxy's ultimate survivors for millions of years. And now those survivors were rapidly developing the technology to spread beyond their planet. The meeting concluded with polite exchanges and promises of future cooperation, but's mind was already working on his report to the Galactic Council. Earth's classification needed to be updated, but not in the way he'd originally expected. This wasn't just a death world producing hardy survivors. This was something far more dangerous, a planet that had created a species capable of turning any challenge into an advantage. As their ship departed the space station and began its journey back to galactic space, found himself wondering if the galaxy was prepared for humanity's expansion. These weren't simple primitives who would be grateful for galactic guidance. These were apex survivors who had already begun reshaping their corner of the universe to suit their needs. His final log entry that day was brief but ominous. Earth reclassification recommended. Current designation, Death World. Proposed designation, Forge World Extreme Caution advised. 3 months after Captain's initial report, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime, their concern evident in the worried chatter that filled the vast space. The holographic displays showed updated intelligence about human activities, and the data was deeply troubling. Counselor, the ancient crystalline entity who served as the Council's senior military advisor, activated the main display with a thought. Fellow Council members, we face an unprecedented situation. Our monitoring stations have detected exponential growth in human space-based activities over the past quarter cycle. What we initially classified as a primitive species taking its first tentative steps into space has revealed itself to be something far more significant. The display showed a 3-dimensional map of the Sol system. Red dots marked human installations, and there were far more than anyone had expected. The asteroid belt was dotted with mining operations, Mars showed signs of massive terraforming projects, and the space around Earth buzzed with constant traffic. In the time since Captain's visit, continued, humans have established 17 new permanent installations in their system. They've also launched what appears to be their first interstellar probe. Our long-range sensors tracked it accelerating to approximately 15% of light speed. A ripple of alarm passed through the assembly. Most species required centuries to develop interstellar propulsion technology, and even then, their first attempts rarely exceeded 5% of light speed. Counselor of the Hive Collective raised one of his many arms. Counselor, our analysis suggests these humans should not possess such capabilities. They lack access to exotic matter, their computational technology is primitive by galactic standards, and they have no knowledge of dimensional physics. How are they achieving these results? That, replied grimly, is exactly what we need to understand. We've dispatched a full research expedition to observe human activities more closely. What they've discovered challenges everything we thought we knew about technological development. The display shifted to show detailed scans of human spacecraft. Unlike the elegant, efficient designs favored by most galactic civilizations, human vessels were blocky, heavily armored, and equipped with what appeared to be massive engines and power systems. Human spacecraft follow a design philosophy we've never encountered, explained. They prioritize redundancy, durability, and raw power over efficiency. Their ships carry backup systems for their backup systems. Their engines produce far more thrust than necessary for normal operations. Their hulls are reinforced to withstand impacts that would destroy most galactic vessels. Captain, present as an expert witness, stood to address the council. During my visit to their space station, I observed humans casually working in conditions that would require emergency life support for most of us. They treat environmental extremes as minor inconveniences. This mindset appears to extend to their engineering. They don't build spacecraft that work under normal conditions. They build spacecraft that continue working when everything goes wrong. The display showed footage from the research expedition's observations. Human miners were working in the asteroid belt, extracting resources with machinery that seemed impossibly robust. When one of their mining platforms suffered what should have been a catastrophic collision with a tumbling asteroid, it simply shrugged off the impact and continued operating. Notice the reaction time? Pointed out. When the collision occurred, the human workers immediately began assessment and repair procedures. They didn't evacuate or call for assistance. They treated a potentially fatal accident as a routine maintenance issue. Counselor Aura, representing the ethereal communion, spoke in her species' characteristic whisper song. Perhaps more concerning is their approach to problem-solving. Our observers report that humans regularly attempt solutions that other species would consider impossibly dangerous or resource-intensive. The display showed a massive construction project in Earth's orbit. Humans were building what appeared to be a space elevator, a structure that most species considered theoretical at best. The engineering challenges alone should have deterred any rational civilization from attempting such a project. They're not just building one space elevator, Aura continued. Our scans show construction beginning on 3 additional sites. When faced with the challenge of efficiently moving materials between their planet and space, they didn't simply improve their rocket technology. They decided to fundamentally alter the relationship between their planet and orbital space. Captain accessed his personal files and added, "During my visit, Commander mentioned their approach to their planet's magnetic field. When they discovered it could reverse and expose them to deadly radiation, they didn't just plan better shielding. They're developing technology to control the magnetic field itself." The assembly fell silent. The idea of artificially controlling a planetary magnetic field was beyond most species' capabilities, even those with access to advanced galactic technology. "There's more," said, activating new displays. "Our deep space monitoring stations have detected unusual energy signatures from the Sol system. The humans appear to be conducting experiments with matter-antimatter reactions, artificial black hole generation, and what our physicists believe might be attempts at faster-than-light communication." Counselor's compound eyes widened in alarm. "Those are technologies that typically require thousands of years of development. How are they progressing so rapidly?" "We believe it's related to their species' fundamental psychology," replied Doctor, the Council's leading. "Our analysis of human behavior suggests they possess an almost pathological inability to accept limitations. When told something is impossible, their typical response is to prove otherwise." The display showed historical data from Earth, compiled from human information networks. Consider their technological development over the past century. They achieved powered flight, split the atom, developed computers, reached their moon, and created global communication networks in the span of a single human lifetime. This rate of advancement is unprecedented in galactic records. Doctor gestured to more data. More significantly, they accomplished these breakthroughs despite, or perhaps because of constant conflict. Human history is marked by near-continuous warfare, yet they've made their greatest technological leaps during their most violent periods. Conflict doesn't slow their progress, it accelerates it. "Their psychology is fundamentally different from ours," she continued. "Most species seek stability, efficiency, and harmony with their environment. Humans seem to thrive on challenge, competition, and the conquest of impossibility. They don't adapt to their environment, they reshape it to suit their needs." Counselor activated a new display showing human population projections. Which brings us to the most concerning aspect of the human situation. Their population growth isn't slowing as they advance technologically. Most species experience declining birth rates as their civilization becomes more complex. Humans are maintaining rapid population growth while simultaneously expanding their technological capabilities. The projections were alarming. Current human population was approaching 8 billion on Earth alone, with off-world populations growing exponentially. Within a century, human projections suggested they would have multiple planets supporting billions of individuals. "A species that maintains rapid population growth while advancing technologically tends to expand aggressively," noted. "Humans are already showing signs of this pattern. They're not content to slowly explore their system, they're actively colonizing it." Captain stood again. "I'd like to share some observations about human military technology. During my visit, their weapons were disguised as scientific equipment, but my scans detected capabilities far beyond what their apparent tech level should support." The display showed schematics of human weapon systems. "These are what they call kinetic bombardment platforms. Essentially, they drop metal rods from orbit. Simple concept, but the energy release is equivalent to nuclear weapons without the radiation. They've also developed what they term plasma cannons and rail guns that accelerate projectiles to significant fractions of light speed. More concerning," he continued, "is their approach to defensive systems. They don't build static defenses, they build adaptive ones. Their orbital defense platforms can reconfigure themselves based on the type of threat they face. They're not just preparing for known threats, They're preparing for threats they haven't encountered yet. Doctor accessed additional files. Our behavioral analysis suggests humans view every interaction as potentially hostile until proven otherwise. This isn't paranoia. It's a survival trait developed over millions of years of evolution on their world. They instinctively prepare for the worst possible scenario in any situation. The implications were staggering. A species that had evolved to assume hostility and prepare for the worst-case scenario was rapidly developing the technological capability to back up that assumption. We also need to consider their information-gathering capabilities, added Counselor Aura. Humans have achieved global instant communication and are working on interplanetary communication networks. They share information at a rate that allows their entire species to benefit from individual discoveries almost immediately. She gestured to data streams showing human internet activity. This is their global information network. Every significant discovery, every technological breakthrough, every tactical innovation is shared across their entire civilization within hours. They don't just learn from their mistakes, they learn from each other's mistakes in real time. Which means, concluded grimly, that human technological advancement isn't limited by individual capability or regional resources. Their entire species functions as a single, massive research and development project. The assembly buzzed with worried conversation. A species that combined rapid technological advancement, aggressive expansion, military readiness, and instant global communication represented something the galaxy had never encountered before. What do we know about their intentions? Asked Counselor. Are humans planning to expand beyond their system? Captain reviewed his files. Commander spoke about humanity's long-term survival requiring expansion beyond their home planet. She didn't mention specific plans for interstellar colonization, but their probe launches suggest they're already gathering data about nearby star systems. Our long-range sensors have detected survey probes heading toward Wolf 359 and Barnard's star, added. They're not just exploring, they're conducting detailed analysis of potentially habitable systems. Doctor's analysis was even more troubling. Based on human historical patterns, we predict they'll attempt interstellar colonization within the next 50 to 100 years. Given their technological advancement rate, they may achieve faster-than-light travel significantly sooner than our models suggest. And when they do, she continued, they won't be seeking permission or guidance from existing galactic civilization. Human psychology suggests they'll view the galaxy as territory to be claimed rather than as an established community to join. The discussion turned to potential responses. Military intervention was discussed, and quickly dismissed. Humans had already demonstrated defensive capabilities that would make any attack extremely costly. Economic pressure was impossible since humans had no galactic trade relationships. Diplomatic isolation would accomplish nothing since humans didn't depend on galactic civilization for anything. The fundamental problem, summarized, is that humans don't need us. Most species require galactic guidance and support to develop safely. Humans are developing independently, rapidly, and in ways we don't fully understand. They're not asking for our help, and they may not want it. As the session concluded, the Council faced an unprecedented situation. For the first time in galactic history, they were dealing with a species that might be more capable than the civilization that discovered it. Earth wasn't just producing hardy survivors. It was creating a species that might reshape the galaxy according to their own vision. The final resolution was unanimous. Humanity required constant monitoring, and first contact protocols needed complete revision. The galaxy was about to meet a species that hadn't just survived a death world. They had turned it into a launching pad for conquering the universe. Counselor's closing statement echoed through the assembly hall. We always assumed that when humanity joined the galactic community, they would adapt to our standards and methods. We may have been wrong. We might need to adapt to theirs. Admiral Sarah stood on the observation deck of the UES, humanity's first true interstellar vessel, watching the blue marble of Earth shrink in the distance. 3 years had passed since her meeting with the Galactic Council's representatives, and humanity had not been idle. The ship around her was a testament to human engineering philosophy, massive, redundant, and built to survive anything the universe could throw at it. Admiral, we're receiving long-range communications from the advanced scout ships, reported Lieutenant Commander Williams from the bridge. The system shows signs of artificial structures. They're not human. Nodded grimly, they had expected this. The galaxy was inhabited, and humanity was about to make official first contact on their own terms rather than waiting for another diplomatic visit. What's the tactical assessment? Unknown, ma'am. The structures are massive, but they don't match any design patterns in our theoretical databases. No obvious weapons signatures, but given what we don't know about alien technology, that might not mean anything. Made her way to the bridge, her magnetic boots clanking against the metal deck plates. It was built like a flying fortress, with multiple redundant systems, armor plating that could withstand direct impacts from asteroids, and weapons systems designed to handle threats ranging from space debris to hostile alien forces. The bridge was a hive of activity. Human crew members worked alongside advanced AI systems, monitoring hundreds of different ship functions simultaneously. The design philosophy was pure human. If one system failed, 3 others could take over. If those failed, humans could operate everything manually. Status report, ordered as she settled into the captain's chair. All systems nominal, Admiral, replied Commander Torres, the ship's XO. Fusion reactors operating at optimal efficiency, antimatter reserves at full capacity, and all defensive systems are online. The crew is ready for whatever we encounter. Through the main, could see the probe's telemetry data. The system contained not just natural planets, but artificial habitats, space stations, and what appeared to be massive industrial complexes. The scale was impressive, but had seen humanity build entire cities in Earth's orbit in less than a decade. Scale didn't intimidate humans anymore. Ma'am, the communications officer interrupted, we're receiving a transmission. It's not directed at us specifically, but it appears to be some kind of general broadcast. Let's hear it. The transmission was unlike anything in human experience. The voice was melodic, almost musical, speaking in a language that their translation computers were still struggling to decode. After several minutes, the AI systems managed to provide a rough translation. This is Fleet Commander Aura of the Galactic Council Peacekeeping Force. Unknown vessel approaching the system, you are entering controlled space. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. This system is under Galactic Council protection. Smiled grimly, the galaxy had a government and they were apparently trespassing. Open a channel, she ordered. Channel open, Admiral. Fleet Commander Aura, this is Admiral Sarah of the United Earth Space Force. We are conducting exploration and scientific survey operations. We were not aware this system was claimed by any galactic authority. The response came quickly, but there was something in the alien voice that suggested surprise and perhaps concern. Admiral, you are operating far beyond your species' designated territory. Earth-based vessels are not authorized for interstellar operations under current Galactic Council regulations. Fleet Commander, replied with the tone she might use to explain something obvious to a child. Humanity was never a signatory to any galactic regulations. We don't recognize the authority of any organization we haven't chosen to join. The silence that followed lasted nearly 5 minutes. When Aura responded, her voice carried a note of uncertainty. Admiral, this situation requires clarification. Would you be willing to meet for formal discussions? Of course, replied. We're always interested in meeting new neighbors. However, I should mention that we have 3 additional ships in this system and another dozen en route to various other star systems. Humanity's expansion is proceeding on schedule. Another long pause. When the alien commander responded, her voice was carefully controlled. Admiral, perhaps we should discuss this matter in person. Are you willing to dock with our station? Looked at her tactical display. The alien station was huge, easily 10 times the size of but was built to human specifications, which meant it was designed to fight anything it encountered and survive. She wasn't particularly concerned about the size difference. We'll need to bring our own atmosphere and gravity systems, she said. Our environmental requirements are probably different from yours. That can be arranged. Please transmit your specifications. An hour later, they docked with the Galactic Council station. And her diplomatic team, all wearing full environmental suits and accompanied by a security detail in powered armor, made their way to the designated meeting area. The aliens had clearly made an effort to accommodate humanity's environmental needs. but could see the strain it put on their systems. The meeting room had been modified with gravity generators that were clearly struggling to maintain Earth-normal conditions, and the atmospheric pressure was kept at human standards despite obvious discomfort to the alien crew. Fleet Commander Aura was unlike anything in human experience. Her species appeared to be composed of some kind of energy matrix that occasionally achieved physical form. When she spoke, harmonics filled the air that could feel in her bones. "Admiral," Aura began, "I must admit that humanity's rapid expansion has caught the Galactic Council by surprise. Our last intelligence reports suggested your species was decades away from interstellar capability." Settled into her chair, nodding that it had been reinforced to handle human weight requirements. "Fleet Commander, human technological development tends to be nonlinear. When we identify a goal, we pursue it aggressively. Interstellar travel became a priority 3 years ago, so we made it happen." "Made it happen," Aura repeated, as if testing the words. "Admiral, our records suggest that developing faster-than-light travel typically requires centuries of research and access to exotic materials that most species cannot synthesize." "We don't have faster-than-light travel," replied casually. "The uses a fusion ramjet system with antimatter boosters. We're traveling at about 30% of light speed. The journey from Earth took 8 months." The silence in the room was profound. Could see other aliens present exchanging what she assumed were worried glances. 30% of light speed?" Aura asked. "Without exotic matter manipulation or dimensional folding." "Fleet Commander, humans have a saying, if you can't go around something, go through it. We couldn't figure out how to bend space-time, so we just built bigger engines. This main reactor produces more power than most small stars." Activated her portable display, showing schematics of human spacecraft. "These are our current heavy exploration vessels. We found that raw power and massive redundancy work better for us than elegant solutions. If something breaks, we have backups. If those break, we fix them while continuing the mission." Aura studied the displays with what interpreted as growing alarm. "Admiral, these designs show weapons systems that appear to be integrated into your exploration vessels." "Of course," replied matter-of-factly. "We don't know what we'll encounter in the galaxy. It seemed prudent to be prepared for hostile contact that can defend itself against anything from space pirates to invasion fleets." "Invasion fleets?" The alien commander's harmonic voice rose an octave. "Admiral, the galaxy has been at peace for over 1,000 years. The Galactic Council maintains order and prevents conflicts between species." Considered this information. "That's impressive, Fleet Commander. However, humans have learned that peace is best maintained through strength. We prepare for war so that we can preserve peace." She gestured to her security detail, who had remained silent but obviously alert throughout the meeting. "These Marines are equipped with weapons that can function in any environment, against any type of opponent. Their armor can withstand direct energy weapon hits, projectile impacts, and most chemical attacks. This is standard equipment for our diplomatic missions." Aura's energy matrix fluctuated in what was beginning to recognize as distress. "Admiral, I'm beginning to understand why the Council has been so concerned about humanity's expansion. Your species appears to approach every situation as if conflict is inevitable." "Not inevitable," corrected. "Just possible. Humans have learned that preparation prevents catastrophe. We hope for peace but prepare for war. We trust our friends but verify their intentions. We offer cooperation but maintain independence." The meeting continued for several hours, with explaining humanity's expansion plans and Aura attempting to explain galactic politics and the Council's role in maintaining peace. What became clear was that human and galactic perspectives on civilization were fundamentally incompatible. "Admiral," Aura said eventually, "the Galactic Council would like to offer humanity membership and access to advanced technologies that could benefit your species tremendously. In exchange, we would need your compliance with certain regulations regarding expansion, military development, and relations." His response was immediate and absolute. "Fleet Commander, humanity appreciates the offer, but we're not interested in membership that requires us to limit our development or expansion. We've survived and thrived by maintaining control of our own destiny. We're not about to surrender that control to any external authority, no matter how well-intentioned." "But Admiral," Aura pressed, "the regulations exist to prevent conflicts and ensure peaceful development. Surely humanity can see the benefit of joining a civilization that has maintained galactic peace for a millennium. Fleet Commander replied with the patience of someone explaining a fundamental truth. Your galactic peace exists because no one has been strong enough to challenge it. Humans don't preserve peace by avoiding conflict. We preserve peace by being too dangerous to attack. She stood and activated a new display showing human expansion plans. We have colony ships en route to 17 different star systems. We have industrial vessels preparing to harvest resources from asteroid belts and gas giants throughout this region of space. We have military patrols establishing security perimeters around our territories. The display showed the scope of human ambitions, and it was staggering. Within 50 years, we expect to have permanent populations on dozens of worlds. Within a century, human civilization will span hundreds of star systems. We're not seeking permission for this expansion. We're simply informing you of our plans. Aura's form flickered with what recognized as deep distress. Admiral, such rapid expansion without council oversight could destabilize the entire region. Other species have established territories and trade routes. There could be conflicts. Fleet Commander replied with the cold certainty of someone stating an obvious fact. If other species have legitimate claims to territory or resources, we're willing to negotiate. If they attempt to prevent human expansion through force, they'll discover why Earth is classified as a death world. Our planet didn't just produce survivors. It produced survivors who refused to be stopped by anyone or anything. The meeting ended with polite exchanges and promises of future communication, but could see that the aliens were deeply troubled by humanity's intentions and capabilities. As she returned to she considered the implications of galactic politics for human expansion. Admiral, Commander Torres asked as they prepared to depart, "What's your assessment of the galactic situation?" Looked at the tactical displays showing alien fleet positions throughout the system. They were impressive by galactic standards, but humans had spent their entire history preparing for the worst possible opponents. "Commander, I think the galaxy is about to learn the difference between a civilization that maintains peace through diplomacy and one that maintains peace through superior firepower." As they departed the system and set course for the next star on their survey list, filed her report to Earth Command. The galaxy was inhabited, organized, and used to controlling the development of new species. Unfortunately for galactic peace, humanity had no intention of being controlled by anyone. The universe was about to discover that Earth hadn't just produced a species capable of surviving a death world. It had produced a species that could turn any world into whatever they needed it to be. And what they needed was an empire that could ensure humanity's survival and expansion, regardless of who might try to stop them. The Galactic Council Emergency Assembly had been in continuous session for 6 weeks. Representatives from 127 different species crowded the Great Hall on Nexus Prime, their agitation visible in the constant flutter of wings, clicking of mandibles, and shifting of crystalline forms. The holographic displays surrounding the chamber showed a galaxy in transition, with red markers indicating human presence spreading like wildfire across previously peaceful star systems. Counselor floated at the center of the assembly, her crystalline form dim with exhaustion. "Fellow counselors, the situation has deteriorated beyond our most pessimistic projections. Human expansion has accelerated exponentially since their first contact with Fleet Commander Aura." The central display activated, showing a three-dimensional map of local space. What had been 17 human target systems 6 months ago was now 43 active colonies, with survey ships detected in over 200 additional systems. "In the past half-year," continued, "humans have established permanent settlements on 37 worlds, constructed industrial complexes in 15 star systems, and begun terraforming operations on 7 planets that were previously classified as uninhabitable." Counselor of the Hive Collective raised multiple arms in agitation. "Counselor, how is such rapid expansion possible? Our analysis suggested that even with their advanced technology, humans would require decades to establish a single successful interstellar colony." Doctor, now serving as the Council's primary expert on human psychology, accessed her latest research files. "Counselor, our analysis was based on conventional colonization patterns. Humans don't establish colonies the way other species do. They don't gradually build up safe, comfortable settlements over time. They arrive with everything they need to survive and immediately begin transforming their environment. The display showed footage from human colony worlds that the Council's stealth surveillance ships had managed to capture. On a planet with an atmosphere too thin for most species to breathe, humans had constructed massive atmospheric processors and were already breathing unfiltered air within months of arrival. On a world with gravity 1.7 times Earth normal, human colonists were walking around without assistance, their bodies apparently adapting to the increased weight. More concerning, Doctor continued, is their approach to hostile environments. When humans encounter a planet with conditions that would kill most species, they don't avoid it. They see it as a challenge to overcome. The footage shifted to show humans working on a world where surface temperatures exceeded 70 degrees Celsius. Instead of remaining in climate-controlled habitats, they had developed personal cooling systems that allowed them to work directly in the lethal environment. On an ice world where temperatures dropped to minus 80 degrees, humans were constructing cities on the surface using geothermal heating and advanced insulation. They're not just surviving in these environments, she noted. They're thriving. Human colonies are reporting population growth rates that exceed Earth's historical averages. Harsh conditions seem to actually improve their reproductive success and technological innovation rates. Fleet Commander Aura, present as the Council's primary contact with humanity, added her own troubling observations. The humans have also demonstrated a complete disregard for established territorial boundaries. When they encounter worlds already claimed by Council member species, they don't negotiate or seek permission. They simply establish their presence and inform the previous claimants that the territory is now under human protection. The assembly erupted in alarmed chatter. Counselor of the Trade Federation spoke over the noise. Fleet Commander, are you saying humans are seizing territory by force? Not exactly, Aura replied carefully. They don't attack existing settlements or harm other species. They simply arrive, establish their presence, and make it clear that they consider the territory to be under human authority. When challenged, they offer to negotiate compensation or shared usage, but they don't leave. She activated a new display showing the 442 system, where humans had encountered a small research outpost belonging to the ethereal communion. This is typical of their approach. The ethereals had a small scientific station studying the system's unique stellar phenomena. When humans arrived, they didn't demand the ethereals leave. Instead, they built a massive orbital shipyard around the research station and offered to share their industrial capabilities in exchange for the ethereals' continued scientific work. The result, she continued, is that human territory now includes the entire 442 system, while the ethereal research station has become the most advanced scientific facility in that region of space. The ethereals effectively work for humanity now, even though they maintain their independence in name. Doctor pulled up psychological profiles. This strategy is consistent with human historical patterns. They rarely conquer through direct violence when they can achieve the same result through overwhelming capability and gradual integration. They don't destroy existing structures. They absorb them and make them more efficient. Counselor activated classified intelligence reports. Which brings us to the most concerning development. Our long-range surveillance has detected human ships in the Vega, Altair, and Arcturus systems. These locations are over 50 light-years from Earth. The implications hit the assembly like a shockwave. At their known maximum speed, human ships shouldn't have been able to reach those systems yet. We believe, continued grimly, that humans have achieved faster-than-light travel. The assembly fell silent. After a moment, Counselor's voice cut through the quiet. That's impossible. Our last intelligence reports indicated they were using conventional reaction drives. How could they have developed FTL technology without access to exotic matter or dimensional manipulation techniques? Because, said a new voice from the chamber entrance, humans don't accept that anything is impossible. Every being in the assembly turned toward the speaker. Admiral Sarah walked into the chamber wearing a simple military uniform, accompanied by 2 Marines in powered armor. She moved with the confident stride of someone who belonged wherever they chose to be. Admiral, Counselor said after a moment of stunned silence, this is a closed session of the Galactic Council. How did you gain access to this facility? Smiled the same predatory smile that had unnerved Captain years earlier. Counselor, we asked politely at the front gate. When your security forces insisted this was a restricted area, we explained that humanity needed to participate in discussions about our own expansion. When they continued to refuse entry, we demonstrated why human requests should be taken seriously. She gestured toward the chamber entrance, where the sounds of construction could be heard. Your security forces are currently being assisted by our engineers in upgrading your defensive systems. We found several critical vulnerabilities that needed immediate attention. Fleet Commander Aura's harmonic voice rose in alarm. Admiral, are you saying you attacked Nexus Prime? Attacked? Seemed genuinely puzzled. Fleet Commander, we didn't attack anything. We simply bypassed your defenses to deliver a diplomatic request. Your security systems are still functioning. They're just functioning better now. Our engineers have improved their efficiency by approximately 40%. Doctor reviewed her notes frantically. Admiral, how many ships did you bring to accomplish this diplomatic mission? Just one, replied casually. The UES Determination. It's one of our new diplomatic vessels, designed specifically for situations where conventional diplomacy might be insufficient. She activated a personal display that showed schematics of her ship. The vessel was massive, easily twice the size of the largest ships in the Galactic Fleet, and bristled with systems that the Council's experts didn't recognize. The Determination is equipped with our latest technological developments, explained. Quantum tunneling drives for faster-than-light travel, adaptive defensive systems that adjust to any weapon type, and manufacturing capabilities that allow us to produce anything from spare parts to entire buildings. Counselor's crystalline form flickered with stress patterns. Admiral, how did humanity develop quantum tunneling drives? That technology requires understanding of multidimensional physics that most species need centuries to master. His expression suggested she found the question slightly absurd. Counselor, humans have been studying quantum mechanics for over a century. When we needed faster-than-light travel, we applied quantum principles to propulsion systems. We don't tunnel through normal space-time. We create temporary quantum states that allow our ships to exist in multiple locations simultaneously until they collapse into our desired destination. She gestured to her display. It took our physicists about 18 months to work out the theoretical framework and another 6 months to build a working prototype. The first test flight covered 12 light-years in 3 hours. The assembly was stunned into silence. What was describing so casually represented a fundamental breakthrough that should have required decades of research and testing. Admiral, Doctor asked carefully, how many ships does humanity now have equipped with this technology? All of them, replied matter-of-factly. When humans develop a new technology, we implement it across our entire infrastructure as quickly as possible. We currently have over 3,000 FTL-capable vessels operating throughout this region of space. She activated a new display showing human fleet positions. The red markers covered an enormous volume of space, indicating human presence in star systems throughout the local galactic arm. Which brings me to why I'm here, continued. The Galactic Council has been discussing humanity's expansion as if it were something you could regulate or control. I'm here to clarify the situation. She stood at the center of the assembly, her presence commanding attention from every representative present. Humanity is not seeking permission for our expansion. We're not asking for membership in your organization. We're not requesting access to your technologies or trade networks. Her voice carried the absolute certainty of someone stating unchangeable facts. We are expanding because expansion ensures our survival. We are developing new technologies because innovation is essential to our continued existence. We are establishing our presence throughout this region of space because that is what humans do. Counselor's multiple eyes fixed on. Admiral, surely humanity can see the benefit of cooperation and coordination with existing galactic civilization. Counselor, replied with the patience of someone explaining something obvious. Humanity cooperates with those who add value to our endeavors. We coordinate with those who share our goals, but we don't subordinate our species' survival to the comfort and convenience of others. She activated another display showing human territory and galactic civilization boundaries. What you call the galaxy, we call the neighborhood. You've been the only significant power in this region for 1,000 years, which has made you comfortable but also complacent. The galaxy is a big place, and humanity intends to explore all of it. Fleet Commander Aura's harmonic voice carried a note of desperation. "Admiral, such rapid expansion could destabilize peaceful relationships that have existed for. Surely humanity can moderate its activities to avoid conflicts." Smile widened slightly. "Fleet Commander, humanity doesn't avoid conflicts. We win them. If other species want to maintain peaceful relationships with us, we're happy to cooperate. If they want to challenge us, they'll discover why Earth is called a death world." She gestured to her Marines, who had remained silent throughout the meeting. "These soldiers represent the most peaceful and diplomatic members of humanity's military. They're equipped with weapons that can disable opponents without permanent harm, and they're trained to prefer negotiation over violence." The implications were chilling. If these were humanity's most peaceful military representatives, what were their actual combat forces like? "The choice is yours, counselors," concluded. "You can accept humanity as an equal partner in galactic affairs, or you can continue trying to treat us as primitive newcomers who need your guidance. But understand this: humanity's expansion will continue regardless of your decisions. The only question is whether that expansion proceeds with your cooperation or despite your opposition." As Admiral and her escorts departed, leaving the assembly in stunned silence, Counselor realized that everything had changed. The galaxy was no longer a stable collection of peaceful species guided by an ancient council. It was now a frontier being rapidly claimed by a species that treated the impossible as merely inconvenient. The Galactic Council would need to decide quickly whether to adapt to this new reality or be swept aside by it. Because humanity had made one thing absolutely clear: they were not stopping for anyone. 2 years after Admiral's visit to the Galactic Council, the universe had fundamentally changed. What had once been a stable, orderly galaxy governed by ancient traditions and careful diplomacy had become something entirely different. Humanity's expansion had not slowed. It had accelerated beyond even the most pessimistic projections of galactic analysts. Doctor stood in her research facility on Nexus Prime, surrounded by holographic displays showing the current state of galactic civilization. The data was unprecedented in its implications. Where once there had been clearly defined territories belonging to various council member species, there were now vast swaths of space marked simply as human territory or human protectorate. "Computer, display current human population statistics," she commanded. The central hologram shifted to show population numbers that conventional understanding. Humanity's total population had grown from 8 billion on Earth to over 50 billion distributed across hundreds of worlds. But more remarkably, each new colony was not just surviving but thriving, often surpassing Earth's technological and industrial capabilities within months of establishment. "Show me the 438 system," Doctor requested. The display focused on a star system that had been barren and uninhabited just 18 months earlier. Now it hosted a human population of 12 million, 3 massive orbital shipyards, asteroid mining operations throughout the system, and what appeared to be the early stages of a sphere around the primary star. The door to her laboratory opened, and Captain entered, his environmental suit modified with new technology that allowed him to function more easily in the mixed atmosphere that had become standard on council facilities since human integration began. "Doctor," he said, settling into a reinforced chair designed to accommodate various species' weight requirements, "I've just returned from the Vega system. You need to see what humanity has accomplished there." He activated his portable display, showing footage from what had once been a simple binary star system. The space between the two stars was now filled with massive ring habitats, each one capable of supporting billions of individuals. Industrial complexes harvested energy directly from both stars, while fleets of construction ships continued building structures on a scale that dwarfed anything in galactic history. "Captain," Doctor said slowly, "our records show humans first reached the Vega system 14 months ago. How is this level of construction possible?" "That's what I went to investigate," replied. "The answer is both simpler and more terrifying than we imagined. Humans don't just build colonies, they build manufacturing civilizations. Every ship, every station, every habitat is equipped with industrial capabilities that allow exponential growth." He gestured to detailed scans of human technology. When a human colony ship reaches a new system, it doesn't just establish a settlement. It immediately begins converting raw materials into additional ships, habitats, and manufacturing facilities. Within months, that single colony ship has become a full industrial civilization capable of supporting millions of people. Doctor studied the data with growing concern. This suggests that human expansion is limited only by their ability to identify suitable star systems, not by resources or construction time. Exactly, confirmed. And they've solved the identification problem as well. Humans have deployed what they call survey networks throughout this entire galactic arm. Automated probes are conducting detailed analysis of every star system within 300 light-years of Earth. The implications were staggering. If humanity could convert any star system into a thriving civilization within months, and they were surveying hundreds of systems simultaneously, their expansion could theoretically continue until they controlled significant portions of the galaxy. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority communication. Doctor activated the receiver, and Admiral's image appeared in the hologram. "Doctor, Captain," said with a smile that had become familiar to galactic observers. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. I wanted to provide you with an update on recent developments." "Admiral," Doctor replied carefully, "we would be very interested in any information you're willing to share." His expression grew slightly more serious. "As you know, humanity has been expanding throughout this region of space for the past few years. What you might not know is that we've recently made contact with what appears to be another galactic civilization approximately 2,000 light-years from here." The news hit both researchers like a physical blow. Another galactic civilization. The Galactic Council had assumed they represented the pinnacle of civilized development in this region of the universe. "This other civilization," continued, "calls itself the Dominion. They claim authority over roughly 1,000 star systems and have technology that appears to be somewhat more advanced than what we've seen from the Galactic Council." Captain found his voice first. "Admiral, what was the nature of this contact? Are they friendly?" Smile returned, but it carried a darker edge. "That depends on your definition of friendly, Captain. The Dominion informed us that our expansion was encroaching on their territory and demanded that humanity withdraw from several star systems and submit to their authority for future expansion." She paused, allowing the implications to sink in. "We explained that humanity doesn't withdraw from territory we've rightfully claimed, and we certainly don't submit to external authority. They found our response unpersuasive." Doctor's research into human psychology had prepared her for this moment, but the reality was still shocking. "Admiral, are you saying humanity is at war with this Dominion?" "War is such an ugly word," replied diplomatically. "Let's say we're engaged in aggressive negotiations. The Dominion sent a fleet of approximately 2,000 ships to enforce their demands. We sent a response." The holographic display shifted to show tactical footage that made both researchers' blood run cold. Human warships, massive beyond anything in Galactic Council experience, engaged with alien vessels of clearly advanced design. But what should have been a desperate battle against superior numbers and technology was instead a systematic demonstration of human military capability. Human ships moved with impossible agility despite their size, their weapons systems adapted in real time to counter enemy defenses, and their defensive systems absorbed attacks that should have destroyed them instantly. More terrifying was their tactical approach. They didn't just fight to win, they fought to utterly dominate. "The engagement lasted approximately 4 hours, explained casually. "Dominion casualties were total. Human casualties were 0. We captured several intact vessels for technological analysis and sent the wreckage back to the Dominion with a diplomatic message." Captain's mandibles clicked nervously. "What was the message, Admiral?" "We thanked them for the educational experience and invited them to send more ships if they wanted to continue the discussion," replied with obvious satisfaction. "We also informed them that humanity would be conducting a survey of their territory to assess whether they were using their resources efficiently." The casual way she discussed the complete destruction of a fleet that could have threatened entire galactic civilizations was typically human. They didn't just win conflicts. They won them so decisively that their opponents lost all will to continue fighting. "Admiral," Doctor asked, "what does humanity's conflict with the Dominion mean for the Galactic Council and other local civilizations?" His expression grew thoughtful. "Doctor, humanity has learned something important about the galaxy over the past few years. What we initially thought was a peaceful collection of advanced civilizations was actually a collection of comfortable civilizations that had never faced serious challenges. She activated new displays showing the broader galactic situation. The Dominion has been expanding toward this region for the past several centuries. According to their own records, they expected to encounter primitive or weak civilizations that would either submit to their authority or be easily conquered. The maps showed Dominion territory slowly extending toward Galactic Council space. If humanity hadn't intervened, first contact would have occurred within the next century. The Galactic Council, continued, has maintained peace for 1,000 years by avoiding conflicts and accommodating everyone's interests. That works well when dealing with reasonable neighbors who share similar values. It works less well when dealing with aggressive expansion-focused civilizations that view compromise as weakness. Captain realized the implications immediately. Admiral, are you suggesting that the Galactic Council's peaceful approach would have failed against the Dominion? Captain replied with the certainty of someone stating an obvious fact. The Dominion's own strategic assessments classified this entire region as easy conquest. They viewed galactic civilization as a collection of soft targets that would surrender rather than fight. She smiled that predatory smile again. They weren't entirely wrong. Most galactic species have developed beyond the need for violence and conflict. That's admirable in many ways, but it also makes them vulnerable to species that haven't abandoned violence as a tool of expansion. Doctor connected the dots with growing understanding, and humanity hasn't abandoned violence. Doctor confirmed, humanity has perfected violence. We've spent our entire evolutionary history competing with our environment and each other. Earth didn't just teach us to survive, it taught us to dominate. Every challenge we've faced has made us more capable, more adaptable, and more dangerous. The display shifted to show current human military deployments. Fleets of warships patrolled the boundaries between human territory and Dominion space. Construction ships were building fortifications and supply bases throughout the border regions. Most concerning of all, human forces were advancing steadily into Dominion territory. The Dominion currently controls approximately 800 star systems, reported. We expect to reduce that number significantly over the next few years. Some of those systems will be integrated into human territory. Others will be returned to independence under human protection. Captain asked the question that both researchers were afraid to voice. Admiral, what does this mean for species like ours? Where do we fit in humanity's vision of the galaxy? His expression softened slightly. Captain, humanity has no desire to conquer or control other species. We're not interested in ruling galactic civilization. We're interested in ensuring that galactic civilization continues to exist. She activated a final display showing human diplomatic and trade relationships. Species that want to work with humanity as equals are welcomed as partners. Species that want to remain independent but peaceful are protected from external threats. Species that want to challenge humanity discover why that's a poor decision. The galaxy is changing, she continued. The age of peaceful isolation is ending, whether we like it or not. The choice facing every civilization is whether to adapt to the new reality or be overwhelmed by it. As the communication ended, Doctor and Captain sat in stunned silence. They had spent years trying to understand humanity's place in galactic civilization. Now they realized they had been asking the wrong question. The real question wasn't where humanity fit into existing civilization. It was what civilization would look like after humanity reshaped it. Doctor's final research report, filed that evening, contained a single stark conclusion. Earth was never just a death world that produced hardy survivors. It was an evolutionary forge that created the galaxy's ultimate apex species. Humanity doesn't just survive hostile environments. They transform them into launching platforms for further expansion. The galaxy now belongs to a species that treats the impossible as merely inconvenient and views every challenge as an opportunity for growth. Other civilizations can either adapt to this new reality or be protected by the species that has become the galaxy's apex predator. The universe had not produced humanity by accident. Earth's brutal conditions, constant catastrophes, and relentless challenges had forged a species capable of surviving anything and turning any environment to their advantage. The galaxy had spent a millennium believing that civilization meant the end of struggle and the beginning of peace. Humanity had proven that wrong. True civilization meant having the strength to protect peace and the capability to ensure that peace continued regardless of what threats emerged from the darkness between the stars. The galaxy was safer now than it had been in 1,000 years, not because threats had diminished, but because humanity had become the ultimate threat to anything that threatened the peace.